What happens when elite US soldiers vanish without a trace? Not from enemy fire, but something far more sinister. Vietnam, 1969. A long-range recon team enters the Central Highlands on a mission to rescue a missing platoon. But what they found was never meant to be found. A village, erased from all maps, whispers in the jungle, voices with no source, and shadows that seemed to think. Locals said it was cursed. The military? They called it classified. But the truth, it was something no weapon could fight. And now, for the first time, their final transmissions have surfaced. The chopper's blades cut through the humid air as I cinch the straps on my rucksack one final time. My fingers move automatically, checking each buckle and pouch. A ritual that's kept me alive through 3 tours already. The smell hits me like it always does. A cocktail of helicopter fuel, jungle rock, and that distinct copper scent that never leaves your nostrils once you've smelled enough blood. 2 minutes to drop, the crew chief shouts over the rotor wash. I nod, glancing at my team. 4 men total for this LRRP mission. Long-range reconnaissance patrol. Small enough to move quick and quiet. Just enough firepower to get ourselves out of trouble if things go sideways. If. You good, Sarge? Doc Reynolds asks, his medical kit secured tightly against his chest like a shield. His eyes are clear, analytical. He believes in science, in what he can touch and fix with his hands. I respect that about him. Always, I lie, feeling the familiar knot tightening in my gut. Same feeling I had before Quang Ngai. I push the thought down deep. On my left, Corporal Luis Vega adjusts his radio, fingers brushing the silver crucifix hanging from his neck when he thinks no one's looking. Opposite him sits our newest addition, PFC Jimmy Nguyen. Kid's barely 20, born in Saigon, but raised in California. His eyes scan the canopy below, already calculating paths and threats. Simple recon, I remind them, raising my voice against the engine noise. We track Pavien movements near the Cambodian border, report back positions, and extract in 3 days. No contact, unless absolutely necessary. The knot in my stomach twists tighter. Staff Sergeant Marcus Hayes, team leader of the 4th Infantry Division's LRRP unit. That's me, the man responsible for bringing these boys home. The chopper dips suddenly, and we're hovering 6 feet above a small clearing. Go, go, go! One by one, we leap into the emerald hell below. 6 hours into our patrol, the jungle has swallowed all traces of our insertion. The air hangs thick and still around us, water dripping from broad leaves, despite there being no rain. I raise my fist, signaling a halt as I crouch to examine the ground. Fresh boot prints, not ours. Pavan, Jimmy whispers, appearing at my side like a ghost. I nod once, measuring the depth and direction with my eyes. Moving east. Recently. The jungle has gone quiet. No birds calling, no monkeys chattering in the canopy. Just the sound of our controlled breathing and the occasional drop of condensation hitting the underbrush. Every instinct screams danger. We adjust course, I murmur. 2 clicks north, then resume eastward. Vega checks his compass, then freezes. Sarge, he whispers, gesturing ahead through a break in the foliage. I follow his gaze, raising my binoculars. Smoke rises in thin tendrils against the darkening sky. A village, small, isolated, and definitely not on our maps. Montagnard, Doc suggests. Maybe. I focus the lenses, studying the primitive huts clustered around a central clearing. No movement visible. Command didn't mention any settlements in this sector. Something else catches my eye. Markings carved into the trees surrounding the village perimeter. Strange symbols. Not Vietnamese. Not Montagnard either. They trigger a memory buried deep. My grandfather pointing to similar carvings on an ancient oak in the Appalachian Hills, warning me never to pass beyond them after dark. I shake off the thought. This isn't Tennessee. This is war. We set up observation here, I order, lowering the binoculars. If it's clear, we move in at first light. As dusk settles around us, I can't ignore the cold sweat forming on my neck, despite the evening heat. The jungle remains unnaturally silent, as if holding its breath, waiting. First light reveals what darkness concealed. The village stands abandoned, though not for long. Cooking fires still smolder in fire pits, thin wisps of smoke curling upward. Pots contain rice and vegetables, half prepared but untouched. No blood, no shell casings, no signs of combat. They left in a hurry, Doc observes, crouching beside a cooking area. He pokes at the embers with a stick. Less than 12 hours ago, I'd say. I divide the area into search quadrants, assigning each man a section. Check for intelligence, movement indicators, anything unusual. Standard sweep protocol. The huts stand in eerie silence as I push aside a woven mat covering the doorway of the largest structure. Inside, it's dim and claustrophobic, dwelling carved from jungle and earth. The rich smell of damp soil mixing with wood smoke and something else. Something older, like the musty pages of forgotten books. Marcus. I spin around, M16 raised, finger hovering near the trigger. Nobody there. Just shadows and dust motes floating in the thin shafts of sunlight, piercing the thatch roof. Who's there? My voice sounds strange in my own ears, unfamiliar and unsteady. Silence answers me. I sweep each corner methodically, heart hammering against my ribs. Nothing. Nobody. Yet I heard my name. Not my rank, not Sarge, but my name, spoken in a voice like dry leaves skittering across stone. Sarge. Vega's voice cuts through my thoughts. You need to see this. Outside, my team has gathered at the central hut. Vega points to markings etched above the doorway, symbols carved deep into the wood, the same strange patterns I'd seen surrounding the village. My grandmother would cross herself if she saw these, Vega says quietly, his hand moving to the crucifix at his neck. Jimmy studies them, head tilted. An old woman in my village spoke of markings like these, to keep evil spirits out. Or in, Vega adds. Doc scoffs, but his knuckles whiten around the strap of his medical bag. Superstitious nonsense, probably just territorial markers. I run my fingers over the carvings, feeling each groove and cut. Recent, made with metal, not stone or bone. We're missing something, I say, unable to shake the feeling that we're being watched from every darkened doorway. The clouds gather with unnatural speed, transforming from scattered white puffs to an ominous gray ceiling within minutes. The air pressure drops, making my ears pop painfully. Storm coming, I announce, watching the spiraling clouds directly above the village. Too perfect, too centered to be natural, but I keep that thought to myself. Vega adjusts his radio dials, face creasing with frustration. Can't raise command, getting nothing but static. Weather interference, I insist, even as lightning splits the sky with no accompanying thunder. We'll make shelter until it passes. Against protocol, against my better judgment, we divide into pairs and take refuge in the abandoned huts. Doc and Jimmy in one, Vega and me in another. The first fat raindrops hit the thatch roof as we settle in, setting our gear against the dirt walls. Marcus. I bolt upright, scanning the shadows. The voice, a child's voice this time, a little girl's. My blood turns to ice water in my veins. Did you hear that? I ask Vega. He looks up from his radio, confused. Hear what, Sarge? The voice comes again, this time from outside. The girl from Quang Ngai, the one who'd been standing in the doorway of her home when I'd given the order to fire. The one whose eyes still haunt my dreams. I grab my rifle and lunge through the doorway into the pouring rain, heart pounding so hard I can taste metal in my mouth. "Sarge!" Jimmy appears from the adjacent hut, concern etched on his young face as he squints through the downpour. "Who are you looking for?" But halfway through his question, his voice changes, shifts, and distorts into Lieutenant Wallace's distinctive southern drawl. Wallace, who died at Khe Sanh, with half his face missing. "Everything all right?" Jimmy continues in his normal voice, oblivious to what I just heard. I stare at him, rain plastering my fatigues to my skin. The others have emerged now, all watching me with varying degrees of concern. "We're moving out," I order, my voice steady despite the fear crawling up my spine. "Now, something's not right here." The map says we should have reached our extraction coordinates hours ago, but nothing matches. Not the stream we've crossed twice now, not the ridgeline visible through breaks in the canopy, not the distinctive rock formation we've somehow circled back to 3 times. "We've been going in circles," Doc finally says, giving voice to what we've all silently recognized. I check my compass again. The needle spins lazily, settling on a direction, then rotating slowly away when I try to take a bearing. Equipment malfunction? Possible. Magnetic anomaly? Less likely. "Try the radio again," I tell Vega, keeping my voice calm despite the growing pressure behind my eyes. He nods, adjusting dials and connections before speaking into the handset. "Ironclad actual. This is Phantom 3. Radio check, over." The static shifts and changes, like waves breaking against rocks. Then voices, whispered at first, then clearer. Vietnamese phrases intermixed with English. Names. Names of the dead from our unit. Martinez, Cooper, Ramirez. Vega rips the headset off, his face drained of color. "What the f was that?" I hear it too, even without the headset. Voices in the static. Names of men I've served with. Men who died under my command. "Command knows our position," I lie, maintaining the illusion of control. We continue east until we hit the extraction point. But which way is east? The compass is useless now, spinning wildly in my hand. The sun should guide us, but the thick cloud cover hasn't broken since the village. As if on cue, darkness begins to fall. Too quickly, too completely for the actual time of day. "Set up a defensive perimeter," I order. "We'll wait for first light." As night envelops us, Doc starts seeing things. Movement in the trees, figures that vanish when directly observed. Jimmy develops a fever, his skin burning to touch as he mumbles in Vietnamese between fits of shivering. "What's he saying?" I ask Vega as we try to cool Jimmy with what little water remains in our canteens. Vega's eyes are wide, reflecting the feeble light of our hooded flashlight. Something about a witch. A witch who speaks with many voices. "It followed us from the village," he whispers, clutching his crucifix. "Something evil." "It's just combat fatigue," I insist, but the words sound hollow, even to my own ears. I've seen what happens to men in the jungle too long. The 1,000-yard stare, the hallucinations, the breakdowns. This is different. This feels targeted. As Jimmy tosses fitfully in his makeshift bed of poncho liners, I catch a glimpse of something on his fevered skin, faint lines appearing beneath his collar. I pull the fabric aside. The same symbols from the village are forming on his chest, not carved, but rising like welts from beneath his skin. "Hayes, wake up." Doc's voice cuts through the haze of uneasy sleep. I jerk upright, hand automatically reaching for my rifle. The jungle is still dark, though a faint grayish light suggests dawn isn't far off. "What is it?" I ask, instantly alert. Doc's face is gaunt in the dim light, eyes sunken and troubled. "We need to talk about Kwangningai." My blood turns to ice. I've never told anyone what happened there. The orders I followed, the civilians who died, the nightmares that have followed me since. You've been talking in your sleep," he explains, but uncertainty flickers in his eyes. "Every night since we left that village. Names, dates, coordinates." Nearby, Jimmy moans, his fever seemingly worse despite Doc's best efforts. His eyes snap open suddenly, but they're not his eyes. They're clouded, milky, like cataracts have formed overnight.
"She knows what you did,"
Jimmy says, but the voice isn't his. It's higher, feminine, with an accent I can't place, ancient and new all at once.
"She knows the orders you followed, the children you killed."
Jimmy blinks, momentarily lucid. He stares at us in confusion. "What happened? Why are you looking at me like that?" "You were speaking," I tell him carefully, "in a woman's voice." Fear crosses his face. I heard her, in my dreams. She says confession is the only way. Before I can respond, Vega calls from the perimeter. "Sarge, you need to see this." Leaving Doc with Jimmy, I find Vega standing before a massive banyan tree at the edge of our camp. Fresh symbols have been carved into its trunk, identical to those in the village, the sap still oozing from the cuts. "We didn't do this," Doc says unnecessarily, appearing at my shoulder. "Could be VC," I suggest, but the words sound ridiculous, even as I say them. What Viet Cong soldier would stop to carve elaborate symbols into a tree while American troops slept yards away? I run my fingers over the carvings, feeling each fresh cut. Around us, the jungle has gone silent again. No insects, no birds, no sounds of life. "We're being hunted," Vega whispers, not to me, but to himself. "Not by men." With growing horror, I realize the truth. Whatever was in that village has followed us, or we never left. The fog rolls in with the dawn, thick, unnatural, glowing with a faint greenish luminescence. Within minutes, it's so dense I can barely see my own hands extended before me. "Form up!" I shout. "Back to back! Defensive circle!" I feel, rather than see, my team shuffling into position, our shoulders touching as we face outward, into the impenetrable mist. But even as we press together, I sense the distance growing between us. Not physical, but something deeper. "I see something," Vega whispers, his voice tight with fear. Through breaks in the fog, shapes move, human silhouettes that appear and vanish like smoke. I glimpse a woman carrying a child, an old man leaning on a walking stick, a group of children holding hands. The civilians from Kwangningai. Not real, I mutter to myself. Not real. Behind me, Jimmy makes a strangled sound. They're everywhere, watching us, judging us. A figure lurches from the mist directly ahead of me, a man in Pavian uniform, but his face is Lieutenant Wallace's, half missing from the RPG that killed him at Khe-San. "Your fault," the apparition says in Wallace's voice. "You sent us into that valley. You knew they were waiting." The fog shifts and swirls around us, faces forming in its currents. Some I recognize, others strange and distorted, all watching, all accusing. A burst of gunfire shatters the silence. Vega is firing wildly into the mist, screaming about faces, about eyes watching him from every direction. "Cease fire!" I yell, but too late. Doc makes a soft, surprised sound. I turn to see him looking down at the spreading crimson stain on his chest, his medical bag dropping from nerveless fingers. Vega, what have you done? I grab Doc as he crumples, lowering him to the ground. I saw them coming. Vega insists, his eyes wild and unfocused. They were going to kill us all. Jimmy tries to help Doc, pressing bandages from the fallen medical kit against the wound, but suddenly stiffens and begins to convulse. His eyes roll back as his mouth opens in a silent scream. When he speaks again, it's with multiple voices layered together. Men, women, children, all saying the same word.
Confess.
The realization hits me like a physical blow. This entity, this thing my grandfather would have called the Bell Witch, feeds on secrets and guilt. It won't stop until I acknowledge what I've done. Doc's breathing grows more labored. Vega stands frozen, his rifle hanging limply from his hands as he stares at what he's done. Jimmy continues to convulse, the voices pouring from him growing louder, more insistent.
Confess.
I make my decision. Sitting back on my heels beside Doc's failing body, I begin to speak. I tell them everything about Quang Ngai, about the faulty intelligence that led us to the village, about the orders to fire on suspected Viet Cong that turned out to be civilians, about the children, about the nightmares that have haunted me since. The fog responds to my words, swirling faster, condensing into something almost tangible. Not a human form, but a presence, a void in the shape of a woman, darker than the mist surrounding it. The Bell Witch reveals herself not as a physical entity, but as a manifestation of collected guilt, feeding on the atrocities of war. As I speak, I see ghostly tendrils connecting each of us to the entity, smoky umbilical cords drawing something essential from our bodies. Vega collapses suddenly, his eyes vacant as the presence invades his mind, extracting his own hidden shame. The village girl he left pregnant, the friend he abandoned under fire. Jimmy screams as his memories are torn from him, the family he left behind, the cousin who died covering his escape from Saigon. I continue my confession, hoping it will be enough, but I realize too late that the entity doesn't want absolution. It doesn't want to forgive. It wants to consume. The darkness at the center of the fog pulses with each secret revealed, growing stronger, more defined. Doc's breathing stops entirely. Vega's eyes stare sightlessly at the canopy above. Jimmy's convulsions slow, then cease, and still I speak, unable to stop now that I've begun. The weight of years lifts from my shoulders with each admission, even as I feel something else taking its place, something cold and ancient that wraps around my soul like poison ivy around a tree. I confess. I whisper one final time as darkness closes in. The extraction team finds me 3 days later, wandering alone along the edge of a river 30 clicks from our last reported position. My uniform is clean despite the jungle terrain, my weapon oiled and functional. I have no memory of what happened to my team. The official report will state that we encountered enemy forces, standard casualties of war, 3 more names for the growing list. But I know the truth, even if I can't speak it. The Bell Witch let me live as a vessel for the guilt of all 4 of us. I hear their voices now, not just my team's, but all of them. The villagers from Quang Ngai, the soldiers under my command who died following my orders. Endless whispers that never cease. The medics say I'll recover, that the 1,000-yard stare will fade in time. They don't see the shadows that follow me, don't hear the whispers that come when I'm alone. Back stateside, I request discharge. The Army psychologists diagnose PTSD, prescribe pills that don't silence the voices. In my footlocker, I find a small wooden carving, one of the symbols from the village, though I have no memory of taking it. Some nights, I wake to find similar markings appearing on my walls. though I have no memory of carving. The voice of the Bell Witch has followed me home from Vietnam. She speaks through the radio, through passing strangers, through my dreams, always with the same message. Your confession was incomplete. I've started recording everything I remember about that patrol, about Quang Minh Ai, about all of it. This account is my final confession. If you're reading this, you should know. She doesn't just haunt the highlands of Vietnam. She finds those with secrets worth taking, and she's patient. Even now, as I write these words, I can feel her reading over my shoulder, whispering that someone else will carry this burden soon. Someone like you.